Alex Macmillan here of Success Moves. I want to tell you how you can increase sales in your department, in your company, get some growth with a limited budget. No budget, not a massive budget. You don't have to raise lots of money, but if you've got some budget, this is a very effective way of making every pound that you've got really count. Done a lot of research on this. We know what the answers are. Now, first of all, people try in business now, with after the pandemic, the freeze and things are all a bit tight. They're finding and looking at the free ways first of all. Now, the free ways can work a little bit, but they have a very limited potential. Somebody said to me once, and I thought it was a good way to explain it, it's imagine you're in Victoria Station in London and you want to get to, I don't know, the city somewhere. Yeah, you can walk it. That's free. You will get there for sure. It might take you 2 or 3 hours, but you'll get there for sure, and you won't have to spend any money apart from a bit of shoe leather. That's great. Now, if you want to leverage your time, you can cycle, you could hire an Uber, you can get an ordinary taxi, you could hitchhike a lift, you can get on a bus, you can get on the underground. There's lots of different options. Now, the fact of the matter is, if you take a taxi and get there in 5 minutes, you will be ahead of the walker who gets there 2 hours later and productive. And that's very much like when you do paid advertising and marketing and put money into recruitment and developing your sales, that you get far more return for your money. It's the far better way to do it. You've really got to think of having a budget, but if you've got a tight budget, you've got to make every pound count and look for the most efficient ways. That's what we're talking about here. Right, now you'll have a business. Obviously sales changes and marketing changes greatly on what type of business you've got. But largely, and to be listening to me, you're probably in a business that needs that people contact, which most do, to open, to develop, to build rapport, but also to close, negotiate and get those deals as invoices out and cash in the bank. You need people to do that. Now, I talk to a lot of people, managing directors, CEOs, sales directors of companies that are looking to recruit, and they're being told by so-called recruitment experts that they need to pay anything from 3k to 9k per month in a basic to it has to be at least that amount to get any decent people. I've had a lot of prospects tell me that they're told 6, 7, 8, 9,000 a month to get the really good people. Right, that's an absolute myth. In other areas of recruitment, IT, accountancy, you pay more basic, you've got more choice, and you can attract better people. That makes sense. In sales, it doesn't. Sales is all about pressure, right? People produce when they're under pressure. If they're hungry, they find food quicker. Yeah. So if the more you give basic, the more you've taken pressure off, which is the main source of energy for salespeople. So if you look at the high performers in sales, the ones that are actually doing the deals, they're not the ones with the high basic. They're the ones with the high, commissions and the high OTEs that are actually delivering the goods because they're hungry to get that more. So you've got to, and there's various things to get them hungry. So just paying more on a basic is not the way. All you're doing is taking pressure off. And I've seen a lot of companies that hire these people, and 3 months later, they've not even got any work in progress from them, let alone, and they're burning up a big hole. Now, the problem with recruiting people and competing on high basic, even if it's 3k, you very rapidly scale that because you've probably got a 3-month sales cycle. So then you have to make the commissions much lower because actually the average is only 1 in 4 salespeople that join a company become productive, actually make the grade. That's a pretty low figure, which a lot of people want to keep from you. 1 in 4 is not very good. So that means you're paying for 3 people, making a loss on 3 to get that 1 star, that 1 diamond out of the system. Now that means that you have to fund that center, and you fund it by making a lower OT and lower commissions. So the people who are producing are funding those that are not. That's not a healthy way to build a business, and it's not the answer. So don't think high basic or even from 3k I would consider too high a basic. That's what we're doing. Now, then people that I talk to, they go on, I'm coming in the end, I'll tell you what the answer is, but they then quite look and come to us for commission-only remotes. They like the idea of remote, no office costs and no other costs, and no basic salaries. My God, the commission-only remotes, no fixed risk costs, or cash flow. And, particularly if they haven't got any money, they see that as a great solution. But there's a massive big but to it. First of all, of those types of people, only 1 in about 35 succeed. And they always have a sales manager who's usually experienced in commission-only sales teams. Salespeople need a lot of management. Their emotions are going up and down by the hour. If they're remote, you're not even picking up that they've suddenly got a bit dejected, rejected, and feeling a bit down, or they're feeling up even. You're not even picking it up. So you not only need a good sales manager, you need ideally someone who's experienced with commission only. It's quite different. And it also requires a lot of infrastructure, a lot of training, a lot of support, a lot of a whole range of other things that most companies just don't have in place. So it might look like the cheap no-risk option, but it rarely produces. Now, it can in some examples. There's certain sectors like home improvements, life insurance, that have made it part of their culture, and they're full of people who are really expert in making it work. And they usually have quite short-term returns as well. In home improvements, you can start on a Monday. You've got a fat check in 4 figures by Friday. Yeah, so it can be very quick, that sort of a business. So it's not really the answer. Most companies don't have this infrastructure. You'd need to spend a lot to get that infrastructure, and it's quite a thin market with very high risks. There's another big problem with commission only. Depending on your sales cycle, the average for most companies we deal with is about 3 months. If you look at motivation in a simple model of the carrot and the stick, the carrot is a long way from their nose. And something nearer motivates a lot more than something further away. But the sticks, like the bills they've got to pay, are really near and imminent. So the dropout rate and the failure rate is very, very high because of that. You need those carrots a lot nearer. And that's what we've got in the solution. So yes, we have the answer. We've studied lots of companies. We've tried it all out with ourselves, and we're very effective in our clients now because we actually know how this works, because we've studied the people. We've studied a lot of companies. And by the way, a lot of companies are totally failing with remote workers. It's not in the press, but when you talk to them, of any type of person, it's really a lot more to it than people think. And there's a lot of advantages with lower costs, and you've got a bigger talent pool because you can obviously not just have people that are near your office. So lots of advantages, but it's still not just taking the job home. Most people are struggling. Most companies are struggling with that. So that's what we have the answer to now in studying those companies, and we've developed a system which we call the RBR, Results Before Reward System, which isn't commission only, but it's still results before rewards with tangibles. Now, there's 9 key elements to the success of this system. First of all, you recruit what we call entrepreneur types, not employee types. Now, the employee type will look at something that's really very results-based as being, there's not a very high basic. The entrepreneur type sees it as a business opportunity where they don't have to pay a franchise fee. So it's a total positive to them. The entrepreneur type is somebody that really wanted their own business. They're very independent, right? They're very, like to work their own way. They work quite hard. They like to work on their own. They're quite self-disciplined. They think longer term, yeah? And that's what they want. So they see your opportunity as like their own little business working from home. And you're looking in your recruitment for somebody that has that entrepreneur, self-employed type of mentality. Not just saying it, they might have done something that indicates an indication, but if you read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and look at the definitions of employee, self-employed businesses and invested the 4 cash flow quadrants, which you're probably familiar with, you'll know it's a very different type of person, right? Now, the entrepreneur type is thinking long term. They're not thinking, I need to pay my bills at the end of this month. Yeah, because a lot of home improvement commission only people are thinking just that, but they've got something coming in to cover that. So that's why that works. So we're looking for results before reward, so we're still focused on the carrots being, you don't get anything until you've produced something, but we want those carrots nearer. That's fundamental to it. So we recruit those entrepreneur types, and they're quite different to the employed types, and I talk a lot more about that. Secondly, you need to control the people. When you pay commission only, you've got no control on what they do, or no right to say, what have you done for me today? You're not paying them anything. So quite often it's usual, quite effective to pay a low basic. Usually in the UK, just £1,000 a month we suggest. Now, that won't appeal to anybody as an attractive basic, which is good because you don't want someone who's looking for an attractive basic, but it will actually take the immediate pressures off them. You know, that's not really a lot, but it'll pay, you know, some basic things in that. But more importantly, you now have the right to tell them what to do 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Yeah? So with the low basic, high, and actually it's more than commissions, we'll come into that in a minute, the high results formula is how it works. So you can pay a low basic. Now, thirdly, we pay on work in progress so that you've got tangible results. So if, for example, you're a software company and your average salesperson makes 20 demonstrations in a month, pay £100 per demonstration. So that means they can earn from week 1. Yeah. Now, you might make your overall commissions obviously slightly lower to cater for this in the overall formula, but the thing is, although you've got cash flow going out, you haven't got risk money without a return on the investment because you're getting tangibles in. Now, that work in progress can be anything. It can be appointments made, the number of calls made, visits, a whole range of things depending on your business that you're measuring. So you're bringing those carrots real close to them. I can make the next demonstration today. I get on the phone a lot quicker than a potential big hit that's coming in 2-3 months' time. It really works. And yes, you've got cash flow, but you've got a clear, tangible return on it. Yeah, because we're trying to avoid here the salespeople that come along, what we call the drifters. They go from one job to the other. They don't really produce anything, but they cost you a hell of a lot of money in the meantime. Yeah, so pay a very small basic. Right. Fourthly, pay multiple amounts. I'll come into that later more, but you want to have, like the horrible thing about commission only, we did research on this years ago, and basic plus commission is 2 things and commission only is 1 thing. Therefore 2 things is always better than 1 thing. That's how people would think in their heads. And we found the more elements to the remuneration, the more motivated people are. So we quite often do deals with 4, 5, even 6 aspects to how they're getting paid. And you need these elements in there anyway to make the whole formula work. Now, 5, and this is an interesting one, offer fixed and variable basics. The fixed basic is, as I said, £1,000 a month. A variable basic, well, you could make the demos, like you say, look, to anybody working to us, you have to do at least 15 demos a month, otherwise, to be honest with you, we'd fire you. So make that a variable basic. There's £100 per demo, and that's 1,500. So your basic is actually now 2,500. Yeah, but they've got the right to increase their total basic if they work harder, and that's how you sell it, and that's how you attract people, and the carrots are all near again. Yeah. Now, number 6, the 3-month induction period. Now, look at the first 3 months in the job as the 3rd interview. Don't even count them in until month 4. Now, keep the costs very low in that period until they prove themselves. So one thing you can do, you could offer, for example, a £1,000 basic to start, to be reviewed to be 18, 24 or 28 after 3 months, depending on performance. Now, anybody thinking long-term career, the first 3 months isn't going to concern them. They'll see that as 18, 24 or 28 basic. Yeah? But you don't pay this lot of money in the first 3 months. So that's actually what you do. Now, the other thing you do, number 7, you move them fast from day 1. Habits form quickly. If they go slow, they're at home, they're not going to be self-disciplined. Get on top of them, get them working what you want to do, even if that's just making connections on LinkedIn, day 1. Get those habits formed quite quickly. Yeah, you've got to get them really moving fast. Now, I would say to you that really by the end of 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, if they don't look like they're producing and work in progress, don't give them lots of chances. You've got to cut. You've got to be brave enough to cut, which is why I suggest on the recruitment, be quite really picky, because if they're not going to work out, you've got to fire them. And I see too many bosses just delaying that horrible decision and thing they have to do, and paying on and having these people who are not performing around them. So you get rid of them quite quickly, but move them fast. Now, number 8, if that seems harsh, number 8 is really helpful. You do everything with goals, and recognition is key. All of that stuff, which is well in the books, you've got to do. But that's not the main thing that will motivate people. There's 2 things that will get people really productive month 1, virtually every time. That's 1, you not only train, coach, you actually actively help them. Somebody goes on and makes connections with them on LinkedIn, makes phone calls with them, does cold calls on their niche or whatever it is. Actively help them build. And the guarantee is you say, look, I'm going to ask you to do A, B and C. Follow my system. You guarantee you'll give me that full commitment. I'll guarantee your success, and I'll work on your account to get you built up until you're successful. That really works as well. Number 9, finally, is face-to-face on interviewing, and regularly meet face-to-face. So it might be great being remote, but people are still people, and they are still salespeople that want to meet each other. They want to have this could be a training, it could be a dinner out, it could be all sorts of things. Evidence clearly shows that this is a key element in success of getting a sales team on low risk, low cost, and getting the productive people that actually perform. So that's the way and the secret to do it. I hope you've downloaded the ebook and putting all these good research we've done into practice. Hope you every success. Thank you.